if you want to understand the sheer, unadulterated desperation of the modern Republican Party, just look no further than Jim Jordan screaming until he's, I don't know, basically blue in the face about a steering wheel inside an SUV from, 5 years ago, to distract you from the fact that the man he's defending tried to overthrow the government of the United States. They have no defense on the law. They have no defense on the facts. So they're trying to litigate a single anecdote from a 2022 hearing as if disproving a traffic dispute somehow exonerates Donald Trump of insurrection. Okay, here is what happened, I think. Jim Jordan decided to use his time in a congressional hearing not to address the substantive charges against Donald Trump. You know, the actual stuff, like the fake electors scheme or the pressure campaign on Mike Pence, but instead to try and gotcha Special Counsel Jack Smith over an anecdote about a steering wheel. Jordan seems convinced that if he can get Smith to admit he didn't use Cassidy Hutchinson as a witness for this specific claim, the entire case crumbles, which is, okay. Watch as Jordan tries to spring his little trap, only to realize he's caught absolutely nothing but his own embarrassment. Let's take a look at this dude screaming for no reason, and I'll give you my take on it at the end. Or, I guess, I'll try to.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Smith, is Cassidy Hutchinson a liar? She was their star witness. January 6th committee, their star witness in one of those staged and choreographed hearings they paid the former president of ABC News to put together. She was, in fact, the only witness at this special prime-time hearing, Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, 8 o'clock in the evening, and she told some stories. These were some stories. She talked about President lunged across the back seat, grabbed the steering wheel, tried to drive the car to the Capitol. And I just want to know, you think she was lying?
Chairman Jordan, my assessment of that particular issue is that with respect to the testimony about the president lunging towards the driver, my recollection of her testimony about that is that it was secondhand. She said she'd heard that from somebody.
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
I'm sorry?
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
Yes.
White House Deputy Chief of Operations, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, right? You remember what he said about it?
As I sit here right now, I do not.
Yeah, he said it didn't happen. How about Bobby Engel? You familiar with that name?
Yes, I am.
Secret Service agent who was actually in the car that day. You know what he said? He said it didn't happen. And they both said the first time they ever heard this story was when Ms. Hutchinson testified in the primetime hearing as their star witness of the January 6th committee. By the way, did you ever confirm her testimony about this particular incident?
We conducted, as I said before, our own independent investigation of all aspects of the case that we thought was relevant. We, attorneys from my office.
Did you ever confirm it? That's a simple question.
Well, we interviewed her, I should say attorneys in my office before.
Did you ever confirm the president leaping across the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, this whole concoction she brought up in the January 6th hearing? Did you ever confirm that?
Right. We interviewed another firsthand witness who was in the car who did not confirm that had happened, but also
in your deposition to the committee last month, Mr. Smith, you said this: my recollection with Ms. Hutchinson was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay. You remember making that statement to us last month in the deposition?
I did, and I was referring particularly to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and you also said Ms. Hutchinson, regarding this particular claim, was a second or even third-hand witness. We asked you, if you were a defense attorney, how would you handle cross-examining her if she was on the witness stand? And you said, if I were a defense attorney and Ms. Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do was seek to preclude her testimony because it was hearsay. You remember saying all that?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
That's correct, right? Were you going to put her on the witness stand if you ever got to trial?
We had not made final determinations as to who we were going to call as a witness. We had a large...
You were still considering her?
We had a large choice of witnesses in this case.
Are you familiar with what Washington Post reporters Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis said in their book? They did this book, 300-some pages book on chronicling the whole investigation of the Justice Department. And here's what they said. on page 310. They said Jack Smith had wondered whether some of Hutchinson's claims might be relied upon at trial. Still, at one point, Smith told the elections team he wasn't ready to give up on Hutchinson's account. Ultimately, however, Trump administration officials uniformly, fiercely disputed her accounts under oath. Prosecutors on your team told Smith they wouldn't want to use Hutchinson as a witness in court, and Smith agreed. Are Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis, who wrote this, are they lying?
My recollection is that I certainly had not made any final determinations about who we were going to call.
And that's the point. That is the point. The fact that they used her in a primetime hearing and you won't rule out using her, or didn't rule out using her, putting her on the witness stand when everybody knows she wasn't telling the truth, that says it all. That's the degree the left and Democrats were willing to go to get President Trump, putting on the witness stand someone everybody knows is making it up. Everybody knows that. And you were willing to do it. By the way, you know how many times Cassidy Hutchinson was mentioned in their report, the January 6th report? Any idea, Mr. Smith?
I do not.
185 times. Someone that the whole country knows wasn't telling the truth, and you were still considering putting her on the witness stand because you had to get President Trump. And everybody can see that.
Okay, so let's be clear about what you just watched. You are watching a man in a state of absolute panic. Jordan is aggressive here. He's loud. He's interrupting. He's doing the whole performative outrage thing. But don't mistake volume for victory, because he is screaming, because he has nothing else left. I mean, that's what it is, right? First, let's address the massive elephant in the room that Jordan is desperately trying to hide behind that SUV. I looked back at the actual indictment brought by Jack Smith, and guess what? The steering wheel incident isn't in it. It's not there. The charges against Donald Trump were never based on whether he lunged for a steering wheel. They were based on the fraudulent elector scheme, the pressure on the DOJ, and the exploitation of the violence on January 6th. Jordan is spending federal tax dollars to debunk a claim that the prosecution didn't even charge, which is the legal equivalent of arguing you shouldn't go to jail for bank robbery because the witness got your eye color wrong. It's absurd. It's dumb. Second, Jordan acts like he's uncovering some massive conspiracy by revealing that Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony was hearsay. And here is the reality. Cassidy Hutchinson said it was hearsay. In her original testimony, the very testimony Jordan is citing, she explicitly stated, quote, "Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, 'I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now,' to which Bobby responded, 'Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing.' The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, 'Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel,' unquote. Tony Ornato described the incident to me. She never claimed to see it herself. Jordan is treating this like a Perry Mason moment, exposing a fact that the witness herself volunteered on national television 4 years ago, which is, I mean, I guess if you don't read, you can get away with that. I know reading comprehension isn't their strong suit, but usually you check the transcript before you start yelling. Or you should. You'd think. And third, let's talk about the people Jordan is citing as the truth tellers here, Tony Ornato and Bobby Engel. What Jordan conveniently forgets to mention, and what we know from public reporting, is that Tony Ornato has a, shall we say, complicated relationship with the truth. This is the same Tony Ornato who, according to broader Secret Service testimony, was often viewed as being more loyal to Donald Trump than to the nonpartisan mission of the agency. The Department of Homeland Security Inspector General found that Secret Service text messages from January 5th and 6th were erased after they were requested by oversight officials. So when Jim Jordan asks, "Did you confirm it with them?" and they said it didn't happen, he is relying on the word of individuals whose agency deleted the records that would have proven what actually happened, which is, convenient, super convenient. The strategy here is transparent. Jordan is attacking a straw man. He knows he can't defend the fake electors. He knows he can't defend the "find me 11,000 votes" call, so he finds the one sensational Hollywood-style detail from the hearings, the lunge, and pretends that if he can poke a hole in that, the whole dam breaks. But Jack Smith's answer, cool, calm, and collected, reveals the truth. The prosecutor didn't need the steering wheel story to prove the crime, and that is what terrifies Jim Jordan. That's the part that makes him go full volume, full rage, all the way up to 11. So, what does this actually mean? Why should you care about Jim Jordan relitigating a car ride from years ago? I mean, honestly, why should any of us care, right? On a personal level, think about it like this. Imagine you caught a burglar in your house, holding your TV with your jewelry in his pocket, and his lawyer shows up and starts screaming that the burglar didn't actually kick the dog on his way out, so therefore he couldn't have stolen the TV. Which is, first of all, what? Second of all, it's insulting to your intelligence, and frankly, it's exhausting. Jordan thinks you are stupid enough to be distracted by the shiny object so you don't notice the burglary in progress. He thinks you're just going to go, oh wow, steering wheel, and forget everything else. It's ridiculous. But on a deeper level, this is about the erosion of accountability. By focusing on this one disputed anecdote, Jordan is trying to create a permission structure for his base to ignore the indisputable facts. He is trying to normalize the idea that because one detail in a sea of thousands might be secondhand, every piece of evidence is a fabrication. And if you can get people to believe that, then they'll believe anything. Or they'll believe nothing, which is sort of the point. And for what? To protect a man who wouldn't look Jim Jordan in the eye if he wasn't useful to him. Jordan is debasing the House Judiciary Committee, turning it into a PR firm for a criminal defendant, all to prove that Donald Trump didn't lunge at a steering wheel while ignoring that he did lunge at the throat of American democracy. Sorry, that's dramatic, but I mean, it's also true, kind of. Unfortunately, I want to read you exactly what Jack Smith told Jim Jordan to his face in the deposition. He didn't hide from the hearsay, he leaned into it. He said, quote, "If I were a defense attorney and Miss Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do was seek to preclude her testimony because it was hearsay. A number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay, and as a result, that testimony may or may not be admissible." Unquote. Smith is explaining Law 101 to the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. You don't build a federal indictment on he said, she said, you build it on facts. Jordan is attacking Smith for doing his job correctly. And it's almost like Jim Jordan has never actually tried a case in court. Shocking. I know. Truly. Who could have guessed? Here is the bottom line. Jim Jordan didn't get the beatdown he wanted. He got a reminder of why he's sitting in a committee chair barking questions, and Jack Smith is the one holding the indictments. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality. This isn't about whether Donald Trump wanted to drive the SUV. It's about the fact that he wanted to drive the country off a cliff. And no matter how much Jim Jordan screams about the upholstery or the partition glass or whatever random detail he found on page 12 of some transcript, he cannot change the fact that the evidence for the actual crimes, the coup attempt, the fraud, the violence, is rock solid. Or at least, it sure seems that way. I mean, you tell me. Doesn't it? Jordan's panic is a signal. He knows the walls are closing in, and all he has left is a steering wheel that isn't even attached to the car anymore. And before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please like the video and subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate it. Seriously. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.